Hi everyone, so today I'm going to be talking about line memorization and a special technique called rote learning. So when you usually memorize lines, it's by repeating the words over and over again. What you don't realize is that you're not only repeating the words, but also the rhythm, the cadence, and the tone of voice in general. Basically what you're creating is a form of muscle memory, and it's lethal to good acting. Why is it lethal, you ask? Because every time you act has to feel as if you're living in that scene in that moment for the very first time every time you do that scene. And if you're hiding behind muscle memory, you won't have the feeling and it won't be right. So a better way to memorize lines is through rote learning. Rote learning is a certain memorization technique that uses routine and repetition, usually without your full comprehension there while you're doing it. So basically, when you remember your lines, you sort of do it in a monotone voice without any kind of inflection so that you just remember the words and not anything else. Memorizing your lines through rote helps you eliminate that muscle memory. So that way, when you do one scene, you can do it in a happy outlook, or another way you can do it as a very angry or unhappy outlook, and it'll be just as good and just as easy. A couple of notes about using the rote learning technique. Um, so number one, when you're doing it, try doing something else as you memorize your lines. So try, cooking or cleaning your room or going for a jog. That way, the other parts of your brain that you don't need to use for memorization is doing something else. Try taking your lines in chunks. Usually you can't really remember, especially if you have a lot of lines, you can't really remember all your lines in one go. It might be easier to just take, like, say a half or a fourth in one day and then the next part in the next day, and it's just a lot easier to remember it that way. When you're using rote learning, you can usually kind of gloss over the punctuation marks because basically you're trying to remember the words and the general feeling of the scene, and you don't have to really worry about punctuation marks like questions or exclamation points, because while you're learning it, you're using a very monotone voice. um, Also, this technique takes a lot of time, so that if you have to be off script, next month, start memorizing your lines now. And also try whispering while you memorize your lines, because you have to have so much repetition in order for this technique to work. It can be a little hard on your voice, so try whispering instead, and so that way you can just do it for a longer time. Finally, remember to breathe. It seems simple, but people like to subconsciously hold their breath, especially when they're nervous or sort of doing something for the first time. But if you just sort of breathe through and relax a little bit, you can probably remember your lines a lot easily and much more smoothly that way. The bottom line is that line memorization just is an important part of being an actor, and it's something that you have to do, or otherwise, if you don't remember your lines, you'll be distracting your scene partner, and your acting will suffer for it. So with rote learning and with line memorization, you won't really have that problem anymore. So that's it for me this week. Thumbs up the page, subscribe to the channel, and let me know what you think in the comments below.